All right, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I'll be listening.
Okay, you're live.
Good evening, everybody, to the March 1st, 2021 Ordinance Administration meeting. This meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with the state of open meeting law, consistent with the governor's order suspended certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer device, that is a raised hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options to be recognized to speak. So tonight, we are going to start the meeting with our boards in community committee and new appointments and appointments.
Sean, do you want to just tell the attendees who's in attendance for those who are on the phone call?
I do have myself. I have Chief Ed Conley, Joanne Sinos, Councilor Gilman, Nicole Kaiser, Jen Holgram, who is graciously stepping in for Steve Blank, Jamie O'Hara, Chris Saccaranza.
Okay. So can I just make an announcement for the attendees? If you're on your appointment or reappointment, when we call your name, could you please raise your hand so I'll allow you to talk since you're not on a panelist on our side?
So first on boards and commissions, we have Dave Sargent, who is going to be reappointed to the Open Space and Recreation Committee. Dave, are you here?
Looks like we have a sergeant.
We do have a sergeant.
Hi, I'm being appointed. How are you? I'm being appointed to the Conservation Commission as well as a reappointment to the Open Space and Recreation Committee. I see that you have a very busy agenda tonight, so I'll be brief. For the Conservation Commission, I noticed that there was a vacancy on the Conservation Commission. And because I've worked with them in the past, maybe I could help out a little bit. I've been involved in many freshwater and saltwater restoration projects, and the natural environment in Gloucester is very important to me. I look forward to serving the city with an outstanding group of committed volunteers, and I hope you'll forward my appointment on with full city council. I would also be the liaison between the Conservation Commission and the Open Space Committee.
All right, thank you, Dave. Is there any councilor questions for Dave? Dave, you're a great guy. You've been involved with a lot going on with the waterways and with shellfish. I do support you. We do have 2 motions to make for you. If I could have the first motion, please.
So Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council appoint Dave Sargent to the Conservation Commission, term ending February 14, 2022, and I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call. You have to do a roll call, Sean.
Sean, yes. Councilor O'Hara
Yes.
and Councilor Holgram.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
Welcome.
Dave, have you done your ethics commission and have you been sworn in?
I've done the Ethics Commission, but I haven't been sworn in as of yet.
All right, if you could reach out to Joanne for that, that'd be excellent for Tuesday night. We'll see you then.
I shall.
What about the second motion? I'm sorry.
We do have a second
Yeah.
motion.
Okay.
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Dave Sargent to the Open Space and Recreation Committee, term ending February 14th, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call? Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes, and thanks again.
Councilor Nolan, yes, and Dave, same thing. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you, councilors.
Next up, we have William Remsen, who's no stranger to us with his wonderful work in town. William, are you on?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can, Bill. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be with the commission?
I've been on the Historic District Commission before. In fact, I was on the Historical Commission and the Historic District Commission. And I had to leave for family reasons, but I've got some time now, so I'd like to come back. I'm a registered architect specializing in historic buildings, and I've been working in Gloucester for more than 30 years, so I've got some experience.
Is there any questions by councilors on the committee for Bill?
No, I'd just like to thank Bill for his energy and willingness to help the city.
Agreed. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
Bill, I enjoyed reading some of your stuff on architecture. You're a great asset to the community, and I'm so happy that you're back on board. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council appoint William Remsen to the Historic District Commission, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
And this is by roll call, and I'll start with Jamie O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Holgram.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. Bill, same thing. Have you been updated with your ethics test, and have you taken the oath?
I haven't taken it recently, but I've taken it many times, and I'll take it again.
Excellent. Thank you. Just be in touch with Joanne, and she'll navigate you through all the responsibilities. And thanks again.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have a new member for the Stage 4 Park Advisory Committee. Is Jamie Marshall available tonight?
I don't see his name, but I'm not sure if he's on a phone call.
Okay, I do see something I don't recognize. We'll come back to Jamie Marshall. Next, we have Lieutenant Michael Williams for the Traffic Commission. Lieutenant Williams, are you available tonight?
I am, Counselor.
How you doing, Mike?
Counselor.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your expertise in the city?
I'm a lifelong Gloucester resident. I've worked for the city on the police department 25 plus years. Currently the 4 to 12 watch commander here at the police department. I understood there was an opening with the ordinance rewrite for a police representative. I've expressed interest in doing that. Chief Conley was kind enough to make me the representative, or recommend me be the representative. I enjoy working for the city. I'm out working out in the community every day. The positions for the Traffic Commission, I'm out there. I know what the traffic problems are the city has. I see it on a daily basis. I receive complaints, and also I got the hands-on experience from working out in the community. That's really about it. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Are there any councilor questions from the committee to Lieutenant Williams?
No,
Like to
but thank
thank-
you all for
Go
stepping
ahead.
up. Thank you.
Mike, thank you for stepping up. Jamie, go ahead.
Sure, I'd like to thank Lieutenant Williams for his dedication to the city and willingness to assist on the Traffic Commission.
Thank you, Jamie. Mike, thank you for everything you do with the city. You've been here a long time. You certainly know your way around the city, and your information is going to be invaluable to us. Mike, have you taken your ethics test, Mike?
I did take one not too long ago. I submitted to personnel department. I'll check and see if I need to do an updated one for this.
Not a problem. Have you been sworn in by Joanne?
No, I haven't.
Just reach out to Joanne. She'll take care of this. Thank you for everything. Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council appoint Lieutenant Michael Williams to the Traffic Commission, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
And this will be roll call, and I'll go with Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Counselor Holgram,
Yes.
and Counselor Nolan. Yes. Mike, thank you very much, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Next up is Drew White. Do we
Sean.
have Drew White?
Sean,
Yes.
I need to recuse myself on the appointment of Drew White to the Traffic Commission.
Mhm. Not a problem. And the cause?
Relative.
Excellent.
I'll be willing to read the motion when it comes.
All right, excellent. Drew White.
Oh, he's on a phone call, so here he is. Okay.
Good evening, Drew. How are you doing tonight?
Let me see. Hold on 1 minute. Let me see if I can get him back.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, there are 41 attendees currently.
Thank you very much, Councilor Holden.
Thank you.
Sorry about this. I'm just gonna, there's so many attendees, I have to go through it. He has to unmute himself because I'm asking him to unmute.
It looks like it unmuted.
Okay, all right.
How you doing tonight, Drew?
Not bad, yourself?
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you think that you could help out the Traffic Commission?
Yes, I grew up in the city of Gloucester. Graduated college with a degree in construction engineering. I currently work for the city as a civil engineer. Been with the city about 8 to 9 months now. I live in town, right downtown. So I am privy to all of the traffic situations going on around town and deal with them every day, and have a little background dealing with traffic throughout my line of work.
Excellent. Is there any questions from the committee for Drew? Go ahead, Jen.
I don't have any questions, but thank you very much, Drew, for stepping up and volunteering your experience. And I'm sure you'll be a great addition to the team.
And Drew, I as well, thank you for stepping up. It's a great commission. There's been a lot of good things that have happened out of the commission over the years. It's one of my favorite committees to meet with. There's a lot of fun, but in all seriousness, that's where tires meet the road is with traffic. And Bob Ryan is excellent, and the other members. And have you been through your ethics test, and have you been sworn in?
I took an ethics test when I started. I have the one for this. I'll have done this week, and I've not been sworn in.
All right, if you could reach out to Joanne to be sworn in, that'd be excellent.
Absolutely.
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend the City Council appoint Drew White to the Traffic Commission, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
And this will be a roll call vote. Councilor Holgram?
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. The vote is 2 in favor and 1 recused. Thank you, Drew, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
Have we come back? Is Jamie Marshall available?
Oh, yep. That hand just went up.
Jamie, can you hear me? And we're looking for Jamie Marshall. I see his hand. Joanne, do you see his hand?
All right, you guys unmute me?
Yes.
You are, well, actually, I've been trying to mute you my whole life, but
Yeah.
Jamie, thank you for working and applying for the Stage 4 Park Advisory Committee. And I want to let everybody know that Councilor Cox is now on board with us. Jamie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that I know you, the excellent stuff you do in the community, but give us a little bit of feedback on yourself. Would be excellent.
All right, real quick, lifelong Gloucester resident. Currently, some of the community stuff I do, president of Little League Baseball for Gloucester. I don't know where else to start. I work for a company out of Seattle and Alaska, but chose not to move due to my my love for this area. So pleased to sit on the committee and to help out anywhere I can.
Excellent. Is there any counselor comments or questions for Jamie?
I'd like to thank Jamie for his willingness to help in the city.
Likewise, as Councillor O'Hara said, thank you very much, Jamie, for offering your time and your service.
And Jamie, I'll say that, through Little League Baseball, and not only just that, through your whole family, your children and your extended family, been an asset to the city, watching the youth organizations grow. And I believe that you're going to be a strong influence on the Stage 4 Park Advisory Committee. It's a great group, and they'd probably love to have a little more invigorating talk on how to improve things for us. Have you been through your swearing in procedure and your ethics committee test?
No, sir.
All right. If you could reach out to Joanne for taking the ethics test and you're swearing in, that would be excellent. Other than that, do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council appoint Jamie Marshall to the Stage 4 Advisory Committee, term ending on February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
All right, this will be a roll call vote, and I'll start with Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes.
and Councilor Nolan. Yes. Jamie, we'll see you on Tuesday night, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Be well.
All right, so up next we have reappointments, and tonight it's going to be first with Richard Segal. Is Richard Segal on?
I'm here.
How you doing, Rich?
Good, thank you.
Busy time of year for the Board of Health. You guys are doing a great job. I just want to give you a little statement of where you're at and why you feel as though you want to keep continuing with the Board of Health. That'd be excellent.
Sure, I'm a retired family and occupational medicine physician, relative newcomer to town after hearing all these other folks speak, been here 12 years, and been on the Board of Health for about 10 years and chair for most of those. As you said, we've been very busy with COVID, in regular communication with Karen Carroll, making decisions in terms of how we're going to be proceeding, and very interested in continuing in the position.
Excellent. Is there any councilor comments or questions for Richard?
I'd just like to thank you, Dr. Segal, for your service. And it is a very challenging board, I'm sure, at the best of times. So we really appreciate your dedication during this pandemic, which is now about to eclipse a year, or has eclipsed a year. So
Just
thank
about a
you.
year.
I'm very happy to support.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
And
I'd like
Councilor
to
Hara?
thank Dr. for his energy, helping the city through the pandemic and continued support. Thank you.
Excellent. Rich, there's definitely a lot that's been going on in the last year, and a lot of it's not been happy. It's been very trying, and looking at other cities and how they've handled situations, I believe that Gloucester's been top notch. Our Board of Health has been a very key part of this with our administration and the council as well. I thank you for stepping back up again.
Well, thank you. We appreciate, I appreciate all the support we've had from the city and the excellent employees that we have in the health department.
Excellent. Thank you. And if there's anything we can always do, you can always reach out to every one of us. I mean, we're all aware of what's going on.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Dr. Richard Segal to the Board of Health, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
Excellent. So it's been voted and seconded, and it will be voted by roll call, and I'll start with Council O'Hara.
Yes.
Council Holgren.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. Richard, you don't have to appear on Tuesday night if you don't like. If you want to come and talk, you're more than welcome. I believe everybody's pretty familiar with you, and we can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. So next, we have James Matheson to the Clean City Commission to be reappointed. Council Holgren.
Just for the record, again, 48 attendees. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have James Matheson for the Clean City Commission. James Matheson here.
I thought it was, excuse me, I thought it was Jamie Matheson.
I believe it's
I mean, it says James, but I thought it was Jamie.
It's listed as James. It could be James or Jamie. I don't see him on the list. Does anybody see them?
It's I believe Jamie Matheson is a woman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It says James.
Yeah.
But they're not here.
I don't see that person
It's Jamie.
on as an
Yeah,
attendee.
no.
We can go on to the next one.
So we will definitely go on to the next one. Susan Goodall for the Council on Aging. Is Susan available?
Yes, she is.
Nice to hear.
Yes, I'm here. I just
How are
had,
you doing tonight, Susan?
I've been on the board of the Council on Aging for about 10 years, and I'm currently heading up a working group that's trying to improve our presence on the internet so that our website is a little bit more useful. And I'd like to continue on the board so I can see that through.
Excellent. Is there any council questions or comments for Susan? Councilor Holden.
Thank you, Thank you, Susan.
Thank you for your commitment and your dedication, Susan. We really, really appreciate it.
Susan, it's one of the more important parts of our city is our elderly, and working on the internet is definitely impressive. Being of my generation, it's still new to me as well. Maybe because I spent more time working on cars than a computer, but whatever you can do to help people out is excellent. Have you been for your ethics test and your oath?
I haven't taken, I think the last one I took was last year, so I probably have to update it. And I haven't been sworn in.
Not a problem. You can reach out to Joanne. That'd be wonderful. And do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend the City Council reappoint Susan Goodall to the Council of Aging, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
And this will be a roll call vote, and I'll start with Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. And like I said before, on a reappointment, if you want to be on the next meeting in City Council to say hello, you can. If not, work goes on, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next would be Lucas Cotterman, and that would be for the Gloucester Cultural Council. Lucas, are you on?
He's here. We have 48 attendees still.
Please get his hand up. Lucas, can you hear us?
I have to find him in order to let him in.
How do people do this with 500 attendees?
Okay,
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lucas. How you doing tonight?
Hey, great. It's nice to see you all again. And you have a very busy night ahead of you, so I'll keep it brief.
Well, that's all right. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and why
Sure.
you want to join your board.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am, I've got about 25 years or so of arts experience, both in the nonprofit sector in the US, internationally. I came to Gloucester about 5 years ago, and my wife and I took over Dogtown Bookshop on Main Street. And I was appointed to the Gloucester Cultural Council. There was a vacant space that was set to expire in February, so I was assigned to that space. It's been great. I mean, as you know, the Cultural Council provides arts grants for Cape Ann residents, and it's tremendous work. I mean, the work coming out this year is really, really amazing. And just a really wonderful group of people too. And so I'm super excited and thrilled to have the opportunity to stay on and keep doing it.
Excellent. Thank you, Lucas. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
Thank you, Lucas, for your dedication to the city. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas, for the care that you put into everything that you do. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Lucas, I'll say, it seems like it wasn't that long ago we talked for the first time about the commission. I knew the previous owner, Bob. I worked with him. Wonderful man. You guys have a quaint store. It's very lovely. And I'm very happy with the education and you bringing it to Gloucester and working to make it all better for all of us. And it couldn't be a better fit. Have you been through your ethics test and have you been sworn in?
I have done both in November. If I need to do them again, that's totally fine. I can reach out to Joanne.
Excellent. I really appreciate that. Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend the City Council reappoint Lucas Cotterman to the Gloucester Cultural Council term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
Excellent. So it's been moved and seconded, and we'll do this by roll call vote. And I'll go with Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes.
and Councilor Nolan. Yes. Thank you again, Lucas. If you want to pop in on Tuesday night, that's up to you. We've built a relationship with you, so it's up to you if you want to bring up any concerns. We're here to listen. And thank you for everything.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right. So next we have Robert Chandler for the Historical District Commission. Is Robert on?
I did not see him on.
I don't see him as well. We can circle back and check to see if he pops on later. It will move on to Prudence Fish for the Historical District Commission. Prudence, are you available? There she is. Prudence, if you just can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
We can. How are you doing tonight?
Fine, thank you.
Excellent. If you could just give us a little rundown on where you're at and how you feel about the commission and why you want to be reappointed.
Well, I've been on the commission for quite a few years. Gloucester history and Gloucester houses and the historic district are what I'm passionate about. In fact, I'm very flattered because I looked tonight at a Facebook page for Gloucester Memories, and I was the subject of the conversation that was going on because of my interest in what I've written about Gloucester houses. It's my life.
Excellent. Is there any questions from the committee for Prudence?
I want to thank Prudence. She's been dedicated for so long to the city of Gloucester. So her continued energy and support is welcome. Thank you, Prudence.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
Council
You're
Holgram?
welcome.
Prudence, just thank you so much for your service to this city, and what you have done is absolutely, I mean, remarkable is not even the best word to use. Just on a personal note, I can't thank you enough for the research that you did on our house, and I constantly impress people with the story of how it was built and who lived in it, and giving you credit, of course. And I also want to say I was able to help a friend's high school age daughter with a research project with one of your books. So thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you, Jen. I appreciate that.
Prudence, your work does not go unrecognized, and I did see that on Facebook. And it's enjoyable to read things about our history and take a moment just to relax and understand how we got here. And I can't thank you enough.
I just wish that we were busier. I wish that it's nice to be on the commission. We don't have an awful lot of business. I'd like to see more people come in.
It will happen in due time. Have you been sworn in and taken your ethics test? Prudence?
Yeah, pardon?
Have you been sworn in and taken your ethics test? Are you up to date?
I don't know.
All right. If you could reach out to Joanne and talk to her, that would be wonderful before Tuesday. Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Prudence Fish to the Historic District Commission term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll go by roll call vote. Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Holgram.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan. Yes. Thank you, Prudence.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have Stephen Goodek. Steve, are you available?
You're on.
Yes,
Hi, Steve. How you doing tonight?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm even happier that you're going to be asking for reappointment to this wonderful commission.
As I am.
Could you give a little bit information about yourself to the committee and why you want to be reappointed?
A lifelong resident of Gloucester. My wife and I live here on Thurston's Point Road. I've been in the construction carpentry contracting business for about 45 years, recently retired. Got a little extra time on my hand and would love to continue with the Historic District Commission.
Excellent. Do we have any questions or comments from our committee?
Yes, I want to thank Steve for his continued support to the city. He's got a tremendous eye for detail, and his carpentry skills certainly would carry through to helping out with the Historic Commission. So thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve, I can say that over the years of maybe not knowing you personally, but watching your company and the projects that you guys have been involved with, modern conceptions such as Cape Ann Savings Bank, trying to keep it to a large building without it being an eyesore, your attention to detail and everything that happens and everything that was good in you showed up in your company. I congratulate you on your retirement, and I can't thank you enough for asking to be reappointed for this committee.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Stephen Goodek to the Historic District Commission term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll go by roll call vote. Start with Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Holgram.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan. Yes. Steve, are you up to date with your ethics and your sworn in?
I am up to date with my ethics, yes, and I still need to be sworn in.
Excellent. You can come by on Tuesday night if you want, like I'm trying to remind everybody, but it's not necessary. We know you, but if you want to come by and say hello, we'd love to see you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
So next we actually have a withdrawal So there's not much comment to this. Can I have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to accept the withdrawal of Crystal Pooler, and I so move.
Second,
And we'll go by roll call vote in this. Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. Next up will be an alternate to a regular member on the Historical District, and I believe it's Carmine Gorga.
Yes.
Carmine.
Carmine. Thank you, Carmen. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to change from an alternate to a regular member?
Oh, a few years ago, I discovered that I love every inch of Gloucester. And I love especially the old part of Gloucester. I live downtown. I'm very interested in the integrity of the district. Whatever I can do, I'm happy to do it. I thank you for your support, for your endorsement and your oversight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend the City Council reappoint Carmen Gorga to the Historic District Commission, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second, and thank you, Carmine.
Thank you, Jan.
I love the voice. So we have a motion and a seconded. We'll go by roll call vote. Councilor O'Hara,
Yes, and thank you, Carmen.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes.
and Councilor Nolan, yes. Next on the agenda, we're going to move Lisa Nogallo to the next regular meeting as she cannot be here to attend. Joanne, that next meeting would be?
Excuse me. I believe it's March 15th.
Excellent. I don't think we have to vote this, just move her. Do we have to vote to move her to that?
No, you can just continue her.
We'll continue that next meeting then.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Ken. The next on the agenda would be the reappointment of Jennifer Goulart Amero for the Tourism Commission. Jennifer, are you on?
I don't see her on.
Jennifer is a reappointment. She's pretty well known to us. She's missed one reappointment before. I know that she's been traveling and dedicated to the city. Without any council hesitation, is there any view upon placing her and putting her forward without her being present?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm
Jen?
happy to support this reappointment. Absolutely fine.
Excellent. She's a stand-up person. If she didn't want to be doing this, she certainly would have let us know by now. So do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Jennifer Goulart Amero to the Tourism Commission, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second,
And this will be a roll call vote. Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
yes.
and Councilor Nolan, absolutely. So next up, we have Michael Mitchell for the Traffic Commission. Michael, are you available?
I don't see him on.
Again, Michael is a reappointment. He's a liaison from the fire department. I think if there was an issue, he would be in touch with us. There could be circumstances where he couldn't be here tonight. Does anybody on the committee have any problem with putting him through, or would you like to hold him back to the next meeting?
No, I'm fine with moving them through.
Councilor Holgram?
That's fine with me. Yep.
All righty. Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration voted to recommend the City Council reappoint Michael Mitchell to the Traffic Commission, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second,
And this will be a roll call vote, and we'll start with Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. So next, we're going to go to Karen Tibbetts and the Waterways Board. Karen, I believe, cannot be here tonight. She definitely still wants to exist and stay on the Waterways Board. She's been a great part of that. She's requested that we can either put her through or we can bring her back and she can do some healing from a procedure. I have no problem without your objections to put her through.
No objection.
No objection.
So do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Karen Tibbetts to the Waterways Board, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. We'll go by roll call. Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. So next up, we have Joe Crowell for the Waterways Board. Joe, are you available?
I am here tonight. Hi, Sean.
How you doing tonight, Joe?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for asking to be reappointed. Do you just want to give a little breakdown of how things are going and why you want to stay on the board?
Sure. As you mentioned, it's a reappointment. This would be my second appointment to the Waterways Board. So just over 2 years ago, I was appointed, and it feels like we haven't really even started yet because of the COVID slowdown the last year. The Waterways Board has not met to do too much. We've kept up with business, but really haven't dug in and expanded too much. So really looking forward to a reappointment. I've got more to offer. There's always more to do, and there's always room for improvement. I think the Gloucester Waterways Board is a great place to improve the quality of the waterfront, tourism and activity and visiting boaters and all the like. Tony Gross and TJ, it's a great team of people, and I would look forward to being a part of that if you so choose. I did recently finish my conflicts of interest training back on the 9th of February, so I should be all set there. I don't know if I need to be sworn in again, take the oath again, but I'll reach out to Joanne to do that.
Excellent. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the council?
Thank you, Joe, for your energy.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Joe, ever since the day I first met you, I liked you and respect you. I believe you're a knowledgeable person. You bring a lot to the table. You've been involved with most things on the waterways, and I really appreciate it. And I couldn't be happier. Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend the City Council reappoint Joseph Crowell to the Waterways Board, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
And this will be by roll call. Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan. Thank you, Joe. And I'm requesting a 1-minute break.
Okay, thank you, folks.
All set, guys. 1 minute. I'm sorry about that. Next, we have Michael Nyman from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Michael, are you available?
I did see his name. And I did want to mention that I just saw Michael Mitchell back on.
We can bring Mike back to say hello. if Mike is around.
Yeah, I don't see him right now again.
Attendance is down to 45.
So I did see Michael Nyman earlier. I don't think I see him now. So if you want to circle back with the, we'll do the next one and I can search again, but I don't see him now.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I have no problem with Mike Lee there. We'll move on to Joseph Parisi. Joseph, are you available?
Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
There you are, Joe. How you doing tonight?
I'm good.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. If you just want to give a few minutes to update why you want to be reappointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals and let us know how things are going.
All righty. Well, so this is my 7th year on the zoning board, my 2nd year as chairman. I joined the zoning board because I began working out of town. It's about one way I could still serve the city in some capacity because it's at night. I didn't know would have conducted 27 Zoom meetings at this point this year, but that's what the reality was. We had a lot of meetings and a lot of extra meetings for the YMCA and whatnot. So it's been good. It's working well. They seem to go okay. No, not too many hiccups.
Excellent. Is there any questions from the committee for Joe?
I don't have any questions, but I want to thank Joe. This is a very important board. All the boards are very important, but they have a lot of heavy lifting. And I know Joe is not opposed to that. He's always been a hard worker, and I really appreciate his willingness to continue. Thank you, Joe.
Anytime.
Joe, it's good to work with you. I know that you've had some really challenging issues before you, but you handle it, and we really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to hopefully getting back to reality outside of Zoom at some point soon. In the Kairos. Thanks.
Joe, you're on one of the boards that we lean on heavily. Sometimes, happy, sometimes wondering what's going on, but you're always level-headed when we need advice or we want to answer some questions. You're always there for it. You know the community. You've been around for a long time. You've been around in the building trades forever. You have a great reputation. Your board makes some tough decisions. It's a thankless job, and I really appreciate you for stepping up again. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank
Glad
you.
to do it.
Do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Joseph Parisi III to the Zoning Board of Appeals, term ending February 14, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. We'll go by roll call vote. Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Holgram.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan. Yes. Joe, have you been up to date with the ethics and you're being sworn in?
Yeah, ethics is done. I haven't been sworn in yet. I'll catch up with Joanne.
Excellent. You know the routine. Councilor Holgram.
I'm sorry. I just saw Mike Mitchell is back. Apologies for interrupting. Thanks.
Okay. Mike Mitchell, would you like to come in and say hello? We've already reappointed you, but if you just want to show your face, that's fine. I see Mike.
Hey guys.
There you go. How you doing, Mike?
How's it going? Sorry about that.
That's right. We took the pleasure of reappointing you. Your work speaks for itself, and we know that you're motivated and that you wanted the position. And we can't thank you enough for all you do for the Traffic Commission.
I appreciate it. I just want to come on and say thank you. So sorry I missed it.
Thank you. Okay.
Next time you don't show up, we're going to appoint you to someplace you don't want to go.
Thank you, Mike, for your dedication to the city, both in fire services and on the Traffic Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Have a great night.
Sure.
So we're going to try to circle back to Michael Nyman.
I don't see him on here.
All right. The zoning board's a very important board to us. Michael has been a great member of this board in the community. It's up to you guys if you want to go for the reappointment or if you want to hold this back until we can communicate with him. That's totally your choice. I believe in Michael, but I also know that it is a very important board. So some boards may want to actually hear a commitment. It's up to you guys.
I
I
think
have
it would
no,
be a good- Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilor O'Hara.
I have no objection with moving him forward.
I'd kind of like to hear from him only because it is the zoning board, but it's the will of the committee. Either way.
I personally feel comfortable putting Michael through.
Okay.
He's in the heart of things, and this the only reason why a lot of times I'll speak for someone. This is a pretty important board. I think that Mike wants to stay on it, but I actually haven't heard from him, so maybe I am going to say that we should bring him back for next meeting if we don't hear from him soon.
Okay, he was on earlier. I did see him, but he's not on now.
So we can have a quick discussion with Council Holgram and O'Hara. Jamie, you had stated that you felt comfortable. Jen, I think that you were right to, you'll want to hear it in person for this particular board because it's very important. I believe in Michael Nyman. He's a great man.
I think, I mean, he certainly is dedicated, you know, and considering how crazy COVID has made everything, I would be fine with reappointing him.
Excellent.
That's fine. Thank you.
All righty. So do we have a motion?
Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Michael Nyman to the Zoning Board of Appeals, term ending February 14th, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and we have an order. We can do a vote. It'll be our roll call. Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. And Michael is a good guy, and I'm sure it's a communication machine. So
Chair Nolan.
yes,
Would it be possible if we could just reappoint Lisa Nogello? I know that she's dedicated. Her email had said that she would love to continue to serve. We're all familiar with her work.
that's not a problem with me.
Okay.
No objection.
Okay.
So we'll read, we have the, do we have a motion?
Yes. Ordinance Administration Committee voted to recommend that the City Council reappoint Lisa Nagello to the Magnolia Pier Advisory Committee, term ending February 14th, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
And this is by roll call again, and we'll start with Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Holgram,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. And I'm sure Lisa will reach out to Joanne on all the statutory stuff she has to do.
So Councilor Nolan, I just want to confirm that you're only going to continue 2 appointments. One would be the appointment of Jamie Matheson to the Clean City, that's continued to the 15th, and Robert Chandler to the Historic District.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so now a few things. I'd like to take a few things out of order. I'd like to take up number 5 on the amendment by Councilor Cox and O'Hara. There's a lot of people for this. Now, I don't want to hold up different discussions over this. It's not a public hearing. We will be working on the amendment to the ordinance, and we will take questions up to 1 minute. Councilor Holgram will pay attention to the questions when that part comes. If there's any duplicate questions that you've asked or may have been asked already, if I get asked you to refrain from this, just so we're not taken up time from other people that may want to make a question. It's not a public hearing. Again, this is just questions. If we cannot answer them or have an answer for them, we will, and we'll be working forward to this. So I would like to open up with Councillor Cox and her recommendations and her hard work for the considerance of the amendments to a councillor order for an ordinance.
Hi, ONA. I feel like I've not been here in ages, which kind of is true. First off, I just thank you for letting me speak. And I think there's a lot of misinformation floating around about the firing range. And I'm definitely not going to be able to clear it up here tonight because there would just be hours of misinformation that needs to be cleaned up. But the first thing I want to do is 10 years ago, there was a public hearing and some rearranging regarding the West Gloucester firing range. According to the research that I've done, that range was never permanently shut down. It was whoever was in charge of using the range decided to no longer utilize it for the purposes of a gun range. But according to our records, the city council records, the ordinance that we have that govern our ability to do everything, it was never shut down. It was never unanimously voted against. So just so we're all on the same page there. Does anybody have any questions on that before I move forward?
No, but I would just like to state for the record, we have a quorum of the city council. Thank you.
Oh, yes, we do. Thank you. All right. So we all know that what happened in April was we did everything we needed to do legally and binding to move this forward and to rearrange it with the assistance of the police chief. And this order was brought forward by Councilor Nolan and Councilor LeBlanc. So everything that we did, we held a public hearing, we noticed it, everything we did was by the book legal. So I really, people need to stop saying that we weren't doing it legally. Could there have been more outreach? Possibly. Was everybody preoccupied with what was happening in the world? Absolutely. So I know I was, I don't even know who I would have talked to in neighborhoods regarding this because I had never even seen this before. This happened a year or two before I even got on the city council. So I didn't even know we had a gun range. So, there was just a lot of other things going on. So I know this got by a lot of people, but to say that we did not do everything legally was just adding more misinformation to the pile. So it was addressed in April, it was passed, we all voted for it. And then after that, it started getting utilized. We got more attention on it. People were complaining about the noise. Was it the right place and time to do this? Who knows? But we had a public hearing on it, another public hearing recently. So from the discussion that was brought forward in that meeting, listening to some of the complaints about the noise and everything else, I spoke with Chief Conley over several different visits via email, via phone, everything, to try to come to a better compromise. I think we've done that in this ordinance. Obviously, I want to hear from the chief on it. I know that we're mandated in getting our guys trained, or our staff trained. So it's very limited on what we cannot do. But, you know, whether or not it's worth the police chief's time and effort to organize it going off-site versus utilizing the gun range that we have in town. So based on that is why I did some of the compromises in the new draft. So I don't know if you want me to go through them one by one or.
Councilor Cox, if you could, just because that's what we're focused on is the hard work you've done for the compromises or the inclusion of some other stuff that would help out the neighborhood, because that's what's on file tonight.
Okay. All right, so section 21-87. Oh, and for the record, Councilor O'Hara did co-sign this with me. We've kind of discussed it as well and trying to figure out what we can do to improve the situation. And I know that the majority of people would like to see it not being utilized. The fact that we are not able to use the Sportsman's Club any longer, and the fact that it is it's not cost prohibitive, it's just not cost affordable for us to go to another location when we have a solution here in Gloucester. Is it the perfect solution? No. Is it a solution? Yes. So Chief Conley's put a price tag on off-site training at around $50,000. So, which in our overall budget is not a lot of money, but it's a lot more time and effort from his staff in organizing everything. So I think he was being very generous in the actual cost of off-site training. So that being said, section 21-87, West Gloucester Firing Range. I did not change anything in section A. That's just more of language than anything. Section B, trying to make it easier to understand. So prior to my amendment, it just said use of the range shall be limited to firearms training for active and retired members of the Gloucester Police Department. And I added the word authorized. So use of the range shall be limited to authorized firearm training. So that way, if there's an organized training that is authorized, that meaning nobody can go up there, regardless of if they're Gloucester PD or not. Meaning if they are Gloucester PD, that they can only go up during authorized firearm training. So that was it on section B. Section C. I'm sorry, I thought somebody said something. So section C, the gun range shall be open from May 1st to November 1st. Biannual state mandated training shall take place from the first 15 days of May and the first 15 days of October. The range shall be available for use under the terms of paragraph B. And instead of every Wednesday of the month, I reduced it to the first and second Wednesday from May 1st to November 1st. And after speaking with Chief Conley, it's better if they're consecutive Wednesdays, but reducing it from 4 Wednesdays a month to 2 Wednesdays a month. So, but he did say that it would be better if they were consecutive. So being the first and the second Wednesday of each month. Moving on to the next sentence, The hours of live fire at the range shall be limited to 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. except for specific low light training, which will be conducted no later than 10 p.m. on those specific days. And I added as allowed above, meaning the first and second Wednesday only, plus the two 15-day segments. Low light training shall be noticed to the City Council 48 hours prior to training in an effort to allow for citizen notification. In addition, training must be posted 48 hours prior to any training exercise on the city website and on the police department's social media pages. So adding that just for extra notification, meaning that they would notify the City Council and then we could help get the word out. And if it's on our agenda, you know, more people might notice it. So that was it for section C. No changes in D. And section E, the entrance to the range shall be posted with permanent signage as opposed to just when they're doing live fire exercise. I think the permanent signage is important because if I'm up there hiking on a, you know, every weekend and I have a Wednesday off in the first 15 days of May and I go for a hike, it's not going to be unexpected that there might be restrictions to the area because of the live fire training. So if there is permanent signage, I think more people would have a grasp of seeing that there might be shooting. Any questions so far? All right. No sections to F, or no changes to section F. G, my only two changes there were that the cleanup would be every 2 years as opposed to every 3 years. And the Gloucester Police shall make every effort to only use frangible ammunition when possible for their regular training. So as opposed to if it's available. And that is it for my adjustments.
Melissa, thank you very much for your work and dedication into this. Councilor O'Hara, your co-sponsor of the bill. Would you like to add to anything or give any more insight?
Sure. I'm in agreement that as far as amending this, I've spoken to a lot of the neighbors and concerned citizens, because this is not only a neighborhood issue, it's a issue with taxpayers of the city who, whether they live in the neighborhood or are in, pardon the pun, shooting range, meaning they hear the noise, or they're people who just enjoy the settings of Haskell Reservoir. Obviously, since 2009, when the range, I think, ceased operation, to today, a lot of things have changed. And I think as a representative of the people, I need to take this into consideration. You know, in reading the notes back in the minutes in 2009, I believe that the police department only had to qualify once a year. Today, they have to qualify twice a year. So we have twice the activity up there. I dare say we probably have twice the enjoyment of people who frequent the area. So it's a balancing act. I've heard in talking with people as far as May, people are opening their windows. They hear the shooting versus moving it back a month, where the noise potentially won't impact them as much. there are just so many variables that that I've heard, and you think outside the box of children who frequent the area, people who are hearing impaired that frequent the area, cleanliness, just plain outright looking at 2021 and what other cities and towns are doing. I'm very, I think, going back when, as Councilor Cox has already said, that we did advertise this according to the laws of the Commonwealth. So that was done. But as Councilor Holgram mentioned, people certainly back then, people today, some people are still extremely COVID concerned. Back then, they were extremely COVID concerned. I dare say most everyone. No one knew what was coming. This certainly didn't get the interest as it has thus far. And I think that's clearly because people just plain didn't know. I think as a representative of the people and all of us, all the councilors, we represent the citizens, taxpayers, voters, that we owe it to those people to hear this out again to the fullest extent. We can amend the ordinance, but I think we need to really look the issues of the ordinance, shooting at night, the trauma that people can experience of hearing gunfire, the trauma that children can experience of hearing gunfire at night, parents who are trying to put their children to bed. I think it's
we're speaking on the motions on the change of the.
I understand. I know. I understand that, Councilor Nolan. So I think we, I'm looking at really, I've spoken to Councilor Cox. We've gone back and forth, and up until we spoke again this afternoon. I think it's a very fluid issue that I'd like to see nighttime shooting eliminated in its entirety. I think we need to restrict the days to 15 and 15, no Wednesdays. And most importantly, I think we need to do a actual site visit that would allow for live shooting to take place both in daytime and in nighttime, so that all the counselors can hear what this actually sounds like.
Councilor O'Hara, we're getting off subject for what's actually in front of us tonight. I do appreciate the comment.
No, I'm talking about this, Councilor Nolan. And I think in fairness, I push this forward, that we need to look at all the variables.
I have a question for Councilor O'Hara. Are you saying that you want to take your name off of this?
Oh, no, by no means. No.
Okay, because
No.
you're saying that you want to get rid of nighttime shooting altogether?
No, I'm
Unless
looking at
I'm hearing
amending.
you wrong?
Amending this. This is in subcommittee. We can amend this to go
Yes,
forward.
thank you very much, Councilor O'Hara. I'm aware of what subcommittee does, standing committee, but I wanted to clarify exactly what your position is here.
Okay, ask me what you'd like me to clarify.
Are you still on board with these amendments? Or are you going to try to start from scratch?
No,
I believe
I'm
he's amending it.
excuse me.
With that,
I believe he's offering an amendment to what we've already got before us.
amendment to the amendment.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I,
Got it.
speaking with Chief Conley, low light training is not mandatory. And Chief, please correct me if I'm not recalling our conversation correctly, but I believe that low light training is not mandatory. While I would love to see our officers do as much training as possible, it is not part of the mandatory training. So
Thank you,
we
Counselor.
could certainly amend that. And I also want to really thank Chief Conley for the FAQs that he has put out. So there's been from, like, as Councilor O'Hara said, this is ever fluid. And when I introduced this at the time, we didn't know that low light training was not mandatory. So that's based on, what Councilor O'Hara and I worked on with Chief Conley. That stuff was new to us after we put this forward. So hence why Councilor O'Hara is offering an amendment on that.
Thank you. I could feel it going off the rails, so I appreciate it. We needed to rein that back in. Thank you.
And every single day since we put this order in, we have learned something new or been able to correct other misinformation, especially through Chief's FAQs. So really, really appreciate you going above and beyond. And you guys all know that we've received probably 50 emails in the last week in regards to why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? That kind of thing. And I do believe that we should allow Chief Conley the opportunity to utilize the firearms training facility for the month of May and really get a feel of the sound and the impact of it. So I am completely and absolutely opposed to a firing range outside in this location, but primarily because of environmental reasons. Whether it be noise pollution, ground pollution, or just literally taking off the table a very good hiking area for people to social distance and get out and enjoy life during this tumultuous time that we're in right now. So that being said, I am all for trying to find a compromise. I'd love to see a structure built there to house the police department in a better manner than shooting into a berm, and it would keep the noise down. But that's a discussion that is going to take a year to even see what the cost would be to finance that. So so this is why we're here now, and we need to move forward from this point. So not my committee, but Chief, I did ask you if I was speaking correctly about that. So
that's correct, Counselor. You're correct on that point.
Okay.
Thank you, Ed. So we've heard from Councilor Cox and Councilor O'Hara on the amendments to the order. Is there any other counselors on the line? I see that there's Val Gilman. Is there anything she'd like to add to the conversation, or would she like to move on to a discussion and a show of information from Chief Conley?
I guess the only thing I'm a little confused about is that I haven't really heard of the formal motion with the amendments. And if you're going to begin to discuss those motions and consider them right now, I just think it might be worthwhile to formalize that prior to continuing with the discussion.
All right, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
I wanted to get some questions answered before then.
So I can put Jamie's.
Can I just say one more thing quickly? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt Councilor Cox through the chair.
Yes, Val Gilman.
Thank you. I also want the public to I don't know if everyone has had the opportunity to look at the Q&A and exactly where it is on the Gloucester Police Department website, but it is helpful to see those if you have not already. So I will be quiet and let the standing committee move forward. Thank you.
And that was where I was at, was to ask Chief Conley to show his Q&A and work our way in. Councilor Cox.
Well, let me put Jamie's amendment into a motion unless you want to. Sorry, Councilor O'Hara.
No, that's fine. If you'd
Okay.
like to,
So
that's fine.
I'd like to amend what's before you to eliminate the low light training altogether. And let me see if I can find that. Hold on one sec. So the low light training was in section C. So we would strike so the sentence mid-paragraph would be the hours of live fire at the range should be limited to 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Period, and then strike except for specific low light training, which will be conducted no later than 10 p.m. Everybody with me?
We are.
Okay. So again, just to reiterate, the amendment is to strike except for low light training, which will be conducted no later than 10 p.m. on those specific days. So
we're basically striking all of low light training, including the amended with the addition of the social media and signage.
Yes. Yeah, there would not be a need for the low light training notification to the city council 48 hours in advance.
All right. So we still have
I move.
something. You move?
You want a second?
Wait a minute. How is, wait, who's going to move this? Councilor Cox? This should be Councilor O'Hara, shouldn't it?
Well, either I just vocalized the motion, so I can move it, or in Councilor.
Who's sitting on this committee?
Excuse me, it's my order. So yes, I can amend it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so to formalize this, let's bring the actual motion forward in full. Councilor O'Hara, can you read the full motion with the amendments from Councilor Cox?
I've got just a question, as I mentioned in discussion. Possibly the chief can speak to this. Chief, is there any reason why we couldn't move the May 1st to say April 1st?
No, other than the only thing I could really think of, Counselor, is I think May tends to be a little bit better for us in terms of weather, being it is an outdoor shooting range and we're there for most of the day. So that could be consideration. But then again, it's New England, so any day may be as good as another.
Councilor Holgram.
I would just like to clarify who is able to read motions. Would either Joanne or Chip like to weigh in on that? For the benefit of the
Councilor
public?
Holmgren, I'm not actually reading the motion. I was making
Okay,
amendment
because
to
you
my
just moved
order.
it like 5 minutes ago. Not even 5 minutes ago, you just moved it. So I'd like to clarify, if you
Yeah,
don't mind, with the city
an
clerk or
amendment.
legal. I would like to clarify, please.
I don't know
Would
the
Chip or
answer.
Joanne please like to weigh in?
I'd defer to Joanne.
Joanne?
I am. Okay, so it was Councilor Cox's and Councilor O'Hara's order. I think Councilor O'Hara started with the amendment that he wanted to amend it, if I, understood correctly. But then after there was a discussion on what Councilor O'Hara was going to amend. So then Councilor Cox decided to voice the motion and move it. So if it's Counselor O'Hara's amendment, then he should probably move the motion.
But it's not illegal for me to move the motion when it was
Did I
something.
say it was illegal?
Excuse
This
me.
is this is a
Excuse me.
procedural question.
I would appreciate it if
This
you
is a
could not interrupt
procedural
me.
question. Who is sitting on this committee tonight?
You're an alternate, Cupcake. Relax.
Chair Nolan. Chair
It
Nolan.
would be up to the chair, you know, and the committee. So to get into, you know, on if it's legal or not, usually if a counselor wants to make an amendment, he or she makes the amendment. That's the norm of the parliamentary procedure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that's the answer. We're still looking for a full read amendment. That has
Councilor
been-
Nolan, we have to make a motion on the amendment and pass the amendment before you can make the motion on the whole order.
All right, so we have a motion on the amendment to the ordinance, and that is being on the low light training, to remove the low light training, which would include taking it from section C, which would strike as allowed above. Low light training shall be noticed by the city council 48 hours prior to training in an effort to allow for citizens notifications. In addition, training must be posted 48 hours prior to any training exercise in the city website and on the police department's media messages. So the amendment would be to strike the hours of low live fire at the range, which should strike the amendment to the ordinance that was brought forward about the allowable low light training in the notices. Do we have any questions or a second on that?
I'd also like to move the May 1st to April 1st.
All right, I believe we have to do one amendment at a time on this. And the one that was brought up first was the amendment for the low light by Council Fox. So if someone would like to
Second.
All right, we have a second on the amendment to strike the low light training, which would be conducted no later than 10 p.m. to remove that entirely from section C, that there'd be no low light training allowed on this amendments. And we would have to do a vote on this. So we'll do it by roll call. Councilor O'Hara?
Yeah.
Councilor
Yes.
Holden?
Yes.
Councilor Nolan? Yes, I agree that it's not necessary by the state mandate, that that's not a bad movement to remove the low light training from the ordinances. We have a motion on the table from Councilor O'Hara about moving the training from April to May for reasons explained by him of windows being open and timing and so on and so forth. So with that amendment, I have to go back into section C again, I believe, where the range shall be open from May 1st, November 1st. Biannual state mandated training shall take place during the first days of May and the first days of October. And we would strike the first days of May and change that to April. So that is a motion that has been made by Councilor O'Hara. Is there any other discussion on this or any particular interest before we move on this motion?
I'll second it.
Right, so it's been moved and seconded. We have to go by roll call vote on this. Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor Holgram?
Yes.
Councilor Nolan? No. The motion passes on the amendment 2-1. So those are the two amendments that have been made to the amendment on the original motion that's put in front of us tonight. Is there any other questions on these amendments from any councilors present, or anything they'd like to add to the conversation before I move on to the question and answers from Chief Ed Conley?
I do just, apologies, Councilor O'Hara.
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to say there are 52 attendees.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councilor Holbrook. Councilor O'Hara?
I'd like to, we just amended the May 1st to April 1st as far as to accommodate the movement, the first 15 days in the second line of section C of May. I'd like to change that to first 15 days of April for the purpose of the windows and
I thought
noise.
we did change from May to April. To go
Okay,
from-
so we adapted that to both. That's fine. Thank you.
Yes. All right, so there's no more questions. I'd like to go into a question and answer presentation from Chief Conley. We do have other issues that we need to bring up during this time. Chief Conley, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, I'll see if I can successfully share my screen here. Great. So right now, everybody hopefully is seeing the Gloucester Police Department website on their screen. So first, before I even get into this, I just want to thank everybody, particularly members of the City Council, for all your support and dialogue concerning supporting the Gloucester Police shooting range and our training requirements. As you know, from the very beginning of all this, it's been our position that these state mandates are placed upon us, and we try to be mindful in how we go about training here in our community. And the dialogue back and forth, some of the productive dialogue that we've had with residents has certainly informed us, and we incorporated that into how we train. So what we thought would be helpful is to kind of distill a lot of the questions and a lot of the dialogue that we've heard through different venues into some frequently asked questions, and we posted those on our website. So on the right now, you should see the Gloucester Police Department website that's run off of WordPress. It should pop up anybody that Googles it at the top of any Google search, since it's optimized for that. And then if they go over to resources and slide down, they'll see a tab that says firing range FAQs. And those FAQs will pop up, and you clearly just all you need to do is look at the particular question that you may have, or it may be a variation of the question you have, and you can just click it, and it will pop down to what is our response, the department's response to that particular question. And whenever possible, I've tried to include some links to bring people to the source material, if there's source material involved in that. I've been told that some of the, for some reason, occasionally when people click on the website, they hit resources, the firing range FAQ may not be showing up. We'll work tomorrow with our webmaster. It's a vendor that we utilize to make sure that that's happening for everybody. But if you cannot find it, you can simply scroll down to, oh, there's me getting a shot. Scroll down on the right, and you can see a tweet that came out with a link. And there's also a link on the Gloucester Daily Times website as well to the safe FAQ. So I'm not going to bore everybody by going through every individual question. I'm happy. I understand there are a lot of people on this meeting. Mr. Chairman, if you want to direct any of those questions toward me, I'll be here till the end of the meeting to answer any questions that anybody has. I just want to say also that this type of training is important to us. There's really no alternative from the state in terms of live fire training. There's no we can't shoot. There are plenty of digital shooting ranges out there, and then they're great training, and they're really great training for decision making. But at the end of the day, we have to shoot twice a year in every single weapon that we carry here in the Gloucester Police Department to do our job, and we have to do it twice a year, and it has to be live fire. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Ed, I really appreciate your time in this. Counselor Cox, I see your hand is up.
We have a slight problem with the public hearing date for this hearing. It's not scheduled to go to public hearing until March 23rd, which means the ordinance wouldn't be active until 30 days from that, which would be April 23rd. So the police department would lose the live fire training if there was not an emergency order put forward in order to waive the 30 days. So, Councilor O'Hara, would you be interested in amending your amendment to the amendment in order to allow for them to do May 1st this year, or is your intention to bring it through as an emergency order?
I guess as far as an emergency order versus just for the first year, utilizing May 1st.
Yeah. So my thought is that after we go through the public hearing on March 23rd, there might be additional things that we learn from the public or further conversations with the chief that would require us to bring something else forward. So that being said, I mean, I would just, in my 10 years, we've only ever had one emergency order. And I believe it was mine in regards to the parking meter down at I4C2, so we could utilize it. And I don't think that the change of date is an emergency order kind of thing. If we can just allow them to do May 1st through the 15th this year, and then have a better idea of the sound and everything. So just in general, I think that might be better off.
I agree.
So.
All right, so we have an amendment to an amendment to an amendment.
I think we're just going to eliminate the one amendment, changing the dates.
All right, and this is something that is definitely a work in progress. There's a lot of things and a lot of questions and a lot of alternatives that we're all looking at and things that are happening. The one thing that I'm quite sure of is that we do need to qualify in May. There's no doubt in my mind that has to happen, and schedule and logistics is something that falls upon where we are and what we had already approved. And it wouldn't be fair to not be able to do something and leave our department hanging without knowing that they can go forward with this. This is a very complicated situation. And Councilor Cox, thank you very much for bringing that up, because that would have put us into a time constraint where there would have been something we would have to do. So again,
Councilor Nolan, in addition to that, so I'm sorry, to formalize this, Jamie should withdraw his amendment for the date change.
Councilor O'Hara.
That's fine, but with the interest that we'll modify it in the coming months. I
mean, that's to be seen at a later date. That would prove to be another order at a later date. So any time after May 1st.
Yes.
And
yes.
This is an ordinance. It's not a charter or things that are etched in stone. These things can be changed as problems arise. But I think the goal for all of us is to make sure we can safely operate our training exercises this spring and find it in a due manner to do so. So again, Melissa, thank you for bringing that up, because it does make sense. So we do have to rescind Councilor O'Hara's amendment to the amendment to remove his request to have April as opposed to May. And I believe, again, that puts us back at a vote.
Second.
Counselor Hogan?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, so we are voting on Counselor O'Hara to rescind his amendment to the amendment on changing from May to April. And we'll do a roll call vote on that. Counselor O'Hara,
Yes.
Counselor Holgram,
Yes.
Counselor Nolan, yes. Counselor Cox.
I would like to make another amendment, please.
Okay,
I would like to add a sunset clause. I would like for this to be reviewed after the May 1st through 15th live fire training. And I would also like, when they do the live fire training, that it also, you know, a portion of it being a site visit, so that we may position ourselves throughout the city from where the complaints were given to us from, such as Concord Street, Forest Street, you know, all those areas where people say that they can really hear it, and do a reading, plus also it be an active city council site visit for this.
Second.
I agree. I know that Councilor Blank had said before that he had no problem meeting with people during training to listen. This is an exercise that is ongoing, and it's hard to encircle our minds around it, and it would be best if we could all participate in it. So we need to add a sunset clause that after the May shootings, we revisit this and decide what's going on. And then also during the May shootings, we add a site visit for counselors to stand in different areas of the town affected by the areas. I mean, some people may want to stand 4 miles away on Rebecca Lane and see how that is. Some people want to be on Lincoln Street down by the cemetery. Some people want to be on Forest Lane, I believe. I don't think it really is Forest Street, because I think that's more your neighborhood.
Forest Street, there's two in town. Leave me
Yeah,
alone.
so if you want to go to Forest Street, you could probably have a cup of coffee or walk up the hill and listen. But I do agree with that. It's another motion on top of a motion after removing a motion. And I think that we did have a second and vote on the motion to remove from May 1st, April 1st, and go back to May 1st. And now the motion on the table would be to a sunset clause to sometime after, maybe to be determined, whether it be a month or 2 weeks after the initial training in May, to revisit the April to May dates, and then also to add maybe a two-part thing where we have to add one motion saying that there'll be a site visit held during the training at some point. So maybe that's the first step, is that we do.
So I don't think that we don't need to have a motion to do a site visit. I just want to keep that on everybody's radar because Councilor O'Hara asked for it earlier. My motion is more for the sunset. So just so we have it in the motion that we reconvene after the first training session from May 1st to the 15th, that we reconvene on this to discuss the results of the sound.
Okay, so we have a motion. Would we like to entertain the motion to say sometime in early June, we revisit this? That gives the 15 days, or the 15 days, legally 10 shooting days in May, and then time for the schedule to allow with the budget and other things to squeeze it in, where we can bring up the sunset clause about bringing back from May 1st to April.
Yes.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded, and we'll have a roll call vote. Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Holgram.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan. Yes. All righty. So.
All right. Just before we take any more Q&A and presentation and stuff, I think it would be best if we made the motion and moved it just so we don't forget about it towards the end after all the 1-minute discussions.
All right.
But however you want to do it, Councilor Nolan.
All right, so we do have a bunch of changes to the original motion. This motion was brought forward by Councilor Cox and Councilor O'Hara. Councilor O'Hara, would you like to read the new motion?
Let's see. So, on a motion, Ordinance Administration voted to recommend that the City Council amend Gloucester Code of Ordinance, Chapter 22, Street Sidewalks and Other Public Places, Article 5, West Gloucester Fire Range as follows. Article 5, West Gloucester Fire Range. This article shall govern the use and maintenance of the West Gloucester Firing Range located at the terminus of Forest Lane in West Gloucester. The implementation of the article shall be under the control of the Public Works Director and the Chief of Police. The use of the range shall be limited to authorized firearms training for active and retired members of Gloucester Police Department, to include any joint trainings with other city agencies and the Gloucester Police Department, Gloucester Police. Any joint trainings involving Gloucester Police and other law enforcement agencies, in any state mandated trainings or qualifications recommended that directly involve the members of the Gloucester Police Department. The range shall be open from May 1st to November 1st. Biannual state mandated training shall take place during the first 15 days of May and the first 15 days of October. The range shall be available for the use under the terms of paragraph B. Let's see. Wednesday of each month from May 1st to November 1st.
That'd be the first.
Yeah,
and second day.
Go ahead.
That also
Second.
include the first and second Wednesday of each month.
Yes, the first and second Wednesday of each month from May 1st to November 1st. The hours of live fire at the range shall be limited from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then we're moving on to D. No shooting is permitted on Saturdays or Sundays or state recognized holidays. The Gloucester Police Department, the Gloucester Public Works shall post on their respective websites the schedule outlined in paragraph C. The entrance to the range shall be posted with permanent signage, the exact size and location of which shall be determined by the DPW director, indicating that the range is for the use by the Gloucester Police Department only, and that the trespassers are subject to arrest in accordance with City Ordinance Section 14.6 F. The entrance and both sides of the range shall be posted with the following signs: Gloucester Police Firing Range, keep out, no trespassing beyond this point. Trespass is subject to arrest in accordance with City of Gloucester Code of Ordinance Section 14-6 G. The DPW shall be responsible for maintenance of the range and shall implement a maintenance plan, the same or substantially similar to environmental stewardship plan for the management of lead shot bullets as suggested by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. The range shall be maintained in accordance with the foregoing at least once every 2 years. The Gloucester Police shall make every effort to only use fragile ammunition when possible for their regular training. H, there shall be no use of the firing range until and for so long as the above described conditions are in place and maintained. And I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion. We have some more questions on the motion. Right now, I'd like to open up to some questions. This is not a public hearing. We'll entertain some questions on the motion. Again, there's no personal. Councilor Cox.
The sunset clause was not part of the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, do you want me to read what?
Would you like to add that, or would you like?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I asked if Councilor Harris wanted to add that, or if you wanted us to add.
Yes, if Councilor Cox could add that on my behalf, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, so it'd be adding a section I, sunset clause, to reconvene at the first ordinance and administrative meeting in June to discuss the sounds from the first training dates in May.
Second.
So moved.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor Cox, for recognizing that.
Thank you.
Too busy looking at the motion to the motion to the motion. And Councilor Harry, you did a great job with that. So we do have a lot of questions, a lot of people that want to make questions. The questions will be limited to what the amendments are on the ordinance. I'll open up some questions to be held for not more than 1 minute. Councilor Holgram will time and monitor the questions. And I'd like to start this off with Grant Clark, please.
There we go. Can you hear me all right?
We can, Grant.
Thank you, Sean. My question to the committee and to the council is this. Has the council considered the implications of Article 97 of the amendments to the Massachusetts Constitution? The reason I ask that question is that we have been advised by, by legal counsel that the land upon which the range sits is protected by Article 7, and that the repurposing of the land for the purposes of a firing range would in fact be illegal without a supermajority vote of both chambers of the state legislature. We have learned this today from counsel expert in the field, in particular the firm of McGregor and Legere in Boston. And therefore, I think this places, I believe this question places the entire ordinance as well as any.
1 minute. 1 minute. Pardon me, Grant.
Thank you.
That is 1 minute. Thank you.
All right, Grant, thank you. Next up, I have no way of telling if Joanne could read who is raising the hand.
One question, Councillor Nolan, as far as how we address these questions, are we going to, what is our plan? Should we refer them to legal or?
Well, I think we just got hit with a big one right there and then, and I'm not aware of any Chapter 97 restrictions on that property. That is I can't answer that question. I don't think anybody on the line can answer that one at this time. Any questions that we can't answer, or maybe we're fielding questions tonight to respond to through the property departments and then through our discussion of how we handle this going forward. That Article 97 one is a real question. I don't doubt the validity from where it came from. Grant's a very smart person. It is a very important one for us to know the answer to, but I can just about guarantee that no one on the council that's on the city staff right now can answer the Article 97 question at this time. This just goes to show that how much something can evolve and how many things can happen in a situation that we need to find out information. And I will say that there is definitely going to be more questions asked that were not going to be answered tonight. But I think we should entertain the questions as that. If someone on the panel can answer the question, they can raise their hand as well and answer it. If not, it's going to have to go to something that we're going to look into and and obviously most likely have to bring this back to us to committee to answer these questions. That first one was a real doozy. So anything with Article 97 is a serious question. And we definitely really need to find out, almost more important, so to find out about that before even moving on. But I will entertain some more questions. I see we
Thank
have
you, Counselor.
Counselor Denton with her hand raised.
Yeah, I thank you, Counselor, for recognizing me. I just wanted to reiterate what you just said. With this additional question, I think you made the right decision to hold on any votes in moving it forward until such time that you come back and have the questions answered. So it's exactly what you said. That's why my hand was raised. Thank you.
So without any objection, if there is, please let me know. I wouldn't mind fielding a few more. Councilor Cox.
So are you going to wait and vote on this after, like at your next meeting, once the questions are asked and answered?
I think that we can't move forward at committee level, especially with that Article 97 question being asked, to send it forward to council without having an answer. That may undermine everything that we're looking to do or to work on for that aspect of what the ordinance would be.
Okay, I just want to look at the calendar again. There's a meeting in between. There's going to be another O&A before the March 23rd public hearing, correct?
I believe there is, Joanne.
Okay. I'm just looking at the calendar for holidays. You guys are notorious for Monday holidays, so I just want to make sure that we're good to go before the public hearing.
Yeah, I want every question answered. I want to have all the information forwarded to me to make a decision before I send it to council. To
Okay.
sure that we're full.
Right, just for a clarification purpose, the firing range is already permitted and permittable in our code of ordinances. So the changes that we are bringing up tonight are not going to be changed by the answer on the Article 97. I mean, it could be totally rescinded, but I don't think that you'll have a problem getting that question answered before the public hearing.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cox.
Can I just say something, Councilor Nolan? If we are to have a special bring it up on the 15th, we would need to advertise at least 7 to 10 days before the March 23rd in order to have the public hearing. So if you're going to have a meeting on the 15th and make any more changes, we wouldn't be able to get those changes into publication before the 23rd. So I just want to put that out to you.
All right, we're looking at a lot of information, and we're only one call into it. The 23rd being the date of a presumptive public hearing on this. I'm not quite sure if it's still going to be ready at the end of the night from O&A to send to council for the 23rd without evaluating more questions. We still don't have answers with the DPW and the testing and plan for the environment as well in place that we're trying to look forward to in the amendment to the ordinance.
I was just going to say, if you want to do a special meeting, like can call a special meeting before the 15th, I would have to have it at least the 8th or the 10th, the latest, in order to get for publication for the 23rd.
A special meeting, maybe what we end up having to do then. I think it's fair for everybody to have the answers we're looking for and to make sure everything's ready to go. Councilor Cox.
You do have Attorney Payson on the call. You could ask if he thinks that it would be within his ability to get an answer to that, or if he already knows prior to the 8th, since he is on the call.
Councilor Payson.
What's the question?
Is the land protected by Article 97?
I don't know.
Do
I'd
you
have
think
to
you
do,
would be able to know by the 8th of March in order for O&A to have a special meeting?
well, in my opinion, it's going to require a title search, so we could try. I just don't know how quickly we'll be able to turn it over, but we can make every effort to do that.
So Councilor Nolan, just for the record, they can go ahead and utilize the property without this passing because there's already ordinance on the books allowing them to do so. So, I mean, it's not going to stop them from doing their May 1st through 15th training, regardless of how this goes tonight or moving forward into the other meetings. It's just a nuance for the advertising for the public hearing. So you don't necessarily need to have a special, it just will delay the public hearing for the changes.
I believe that that is correct. There is an ordinance sitting right now where the police will have their firing in May. Time constraints are definitely an issue, but I'd like to have real answers and figure this out for real, and come down and also, vet it through everybody so it's perfect. Well, it's never gonna be perfect, but there are alternatives that we've talked about. There's things that are going on. I believe in fairness. We did pass a law and an ordinance, and to far stretch to stop it in May is going to be tough to do right now. But we do have a lot of work to do, and part of it would be with the DPW working on the range and the testing and having a plan implemented. I know that they've started working on that. They don't have a full answer for us at this time. So that's definitely something I want to revisit, to bring that back. So we're not asking for an ordinance change that we don't know what the achievable information is and how it actually happens. I know that it's obtainable, and if there is contamination there, we want to know about it, and so doesn't the DPW. It's just the amount of time that it may take to get that information for what they're looking to do to present to the public or to vote for something that we don't have an answer of when and how it can happen. So
Right. My statement was more of a clarification to let people know that they are still more than capable of moving forward with the May 1st start date of training, based on the ordinance prior to this amendment of what we're trying to do here. So just so they don't have an expectation of stopping the May 1st training.
I don't believe that
Yeah.
It's going to be interfered with. I think that we're going to be working on this for a little bit more time. In all fairness to all parties, neighbors, the regulators in our city, our administration, the police department. There's a lot of things that we need to touch on and figure out. The Article 97 being new to me tonight is very important. I don't know how it's not going to affect our existing ordinance for this upcoming May. We do have other situations that are going to affect the way the ordinance is put through, and obviously a public hearing and a lot of things going on. I don't see it being ready for the 23rd with the questions that we're looking. And I don't like giving the bad news, but some things are a lot harder to put through with information and making sure that we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's. We've already been there before. We want to make sure that this is proper. Councilor Holgram.
Would it, with regard to Article 97, would it be possible to run it by Adrienne Lennon, our conservation officer? Do you think she'd know? Or somebody on Concom?
I believe that these are questions that are going to have to be directed to the administration and departmental.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it. It's something we have to look at. It complicates something that's already complicated, and I'm not willing to rush that through in any judgment or say no. or yes to it. we've been through a lot of stuff on this. We all have. We've all read all the communications, and we know where things we think need to be, but we definitely need more info. I know that this is definitely going to be continued, without a doubt in my heart. There's answers that we don't have. I would still like to let the public ask a few more questions, to be fair, before we move on. But I also want them to know that there's already that one question that just happened is definitely gonna, we need some real answers for that before we can move on to this. And as of right now, we do have an existing ordinance. Jamie and Melissa have done a lot of work with this, and so is all the council looking into it. And I think that everybody deserves to be heard. So if there's anybody else that wants to add to the amendments to the ordinance, I don't have a way of seeing the hands raised. If someone that can, whether it's Jen or Kaufman or Jen.
Yeah, I do have someone
Charlie
else.
Crowley.
Yeah, I will allow him to talk.
Yeah, I'd like to still hear from some people. That would be good if they can give their name and address before they speak, and try to keep it to 1 minute. And it's not a public hearing questions, and if we can't answer the questions, we will direct them to the right office, and we will find the answers for you.
Yeah.
And Mayor Taken
on?
has her hand. Oh,
Am I on?
Sorry, Charlie.
Okay. Hey, by the way, the Article 97 is for real, and it is correct on that piece of land. I'll send you around the deeds tomorrow. You can read it. I have two specific questions. One is the land, it's 97 acres of land, and DPW can put that range anywhere they want. We need to be more specific. I don't know what access is being blocked. We are deed required to allow public access to Red Rocks because of grant commitments. We're deed required to have access other places. Okay, so we need to know what the hell we're talking about. 97 acres, DPW could claim it all. We need to know what they're talking about. Second question I'm going to ask you, because it's going to be more public now. Why the heck aren't we using the rifle range? We have deeded rights to the rifle range. Put the police on there for this year. Just let's get over with it. We own that land they're shooting into. You own that land. The fact that it's public means that if nothing else, we're not going to be, it's not going to go on just as normal. That's going to have to be addressed. The only way to really address the Sportsman's Club encroachment on the Dogtown land is to come up with a joint agreement.
Going off topic.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Appreciate it.
Stop.
And do we have anybody else, Jen?
Looks like the mayor has her hand raised.
Yes, I do. I just want to let everyone know too, we're also working on the dam. So in 3 years, okay, nobody is allowed on that area at all. We have repairs. So we have repairs on the dams, which we're working on. And I've been saying this, and I've been telling people that, you know, we have a dam that hasn't been touched in 100 years. So we are looking at the dam and the DPW. We looked at a lot of alternatives. I did have a Google Meet with Adrian and Chief Conley on looking at alternatives, looking at trailers, getting prices and doing all these wonderful things, because in 3 years, nobody's allowed there. We have to do repairs to the dam. So when you're looking at a solution, and thank you, Councilor Harron, Councilor Cox and Sean and everyone else who are looking at solutions, think of also some of the solutions when you're looking at that. And in 3 years, you might have to go through all this all over again if we don't find a permanent solution to do this, because it's going to have to be gone. And for the record, it may not have been voted on in 2009. We had lots of discussion and lots of people. I was on council. I live in West Gloucester, for the record. I don't like it either. So I want that, you know, as a citizen, but as your mayor, we have to find alternatives and work to find a solution. And there can be a solution where we get the training that we need. We also get this, we get the community input. You have people in community willing and saying, you know, we'll help out, we'll fix what we needs to be done, find a place, look at what a place is, what we can do. We have Sean and Chief Conley looking at those training, what are they called, trailers or whatever, and how much the cost, because it was self-pay itself eventually if we figure out what it costs to go to Fort Devens. If we can rent it out to other people, maybe we can even actually cover the cost even more. So, I mean, this is the place where you need to do it. And as they said, right now it's still open because it was voted on in April. But just when we look at all the things and maybe Charles can work with, our legal department, get him all the deeds that he has, so it doesn't take so long. But when we do it correctly. But remember, in 3 years, I'm sorry, but dam or no dam, no one's on that property. I mean, you can still go hiking, but in that facility, no one's going to go. I just also confirmed again with our conservation and Mike Hale. There's absolutely, because, we don't know what we're going to find when we do the dam. So you're not going to have people there or anything else, or machinery is going to be there. So it has to be fixed. It's been 100 years. So, we need to fix what we have. So just to let everyone know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Council Holgram.
48 attendees, and Robin has her hand raised. And I apologize. I've been so preoccupied with taking the time and everything else. Did we ask for Charlie and Grant's addresses as well? Did I completely blank on that?
Not, but I know where Charlie and Grant both live. So we'll let that slide for now. But from now on, could ask people to announce their name and address for the record.
Okay, so Charles Crowley still has his hand up. Are you going to allow him to speak again, or do you want to go on?
I think that we need to move on for a little bit. Sorry, Charlie.
Okay, he just lowered his hand. Okay. All right, so there's Robin. She's allowed to speak.
And Robin, if we could have your name and your address for the record, please.
Actually, this is her husband on the same computer, Chris Sabatowski, 20 Forest Lane. I just looked at the map and I realized that West Parish School is 1.5 miles from the dam. Has anyone done a noise study to see what negative effect that noise will have on the school? And because right now, what I've read on the internet, within 2 miles, the noise can be affected. It's affected by topography and foliage, but the school could easily be affected by the noise coming off the firing range. So somebody should do a study on that. And there are plenty of engineers, I'm sure, who could do it because information is all known. The noise from the firing range and how noise travels over distance. Thank you.
All right, Robin.
Can I talk
sorry.
to you?
Thank you for your time. I do want to remind people that the questions are to the amendments to the motion of the ordinance. When we do have a public hearing, you'll be able to ask as many questions about the noise and things, but tonight what is on the table is the motions that have been made and amendments to the ordinance. So if you can keep your questions to that, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands. Oh, hands up. Oh, I did. Someone just brought one up. Okay.
That's Robin herself.
Oh, okay. I don't see any other hands that are up.
May I speak?
Robin, your name and address for the record, please.
Robin Hosking, 24th Lane. I was just wondering if anyone checked the facts that were listed on the police report, because one thing is the 47 decibels that it says that the shots are from down Forest Lane. That's 47 decibels is ambient house noise. So I don't think that 300 people would be complaining for ambient house noise. So the facts are not actually facts. So another thing I would check too, if anyone hasn't, is the actual price of training at Fort Devens. Thank you. Has anyone checked that? I guess is what I want to know is the actual price. And also, it's an hour and 8 minutes away. When I first heard Fort Devens, I thought, oh, that's in Maine someplace. It's such a barrier. They're talking about such a barrier of transportation. It's an hour and 8 minutes away. A lot of people commute that. And we're talking about 15 days in
Thank you,
May.
Robin.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Peter Radocha.
Peter, name and address for the record, please.
Concord Street, Gloucester.
Question I had was, why is it necessary for the ordinance to allow other agencies to use the range when we're really worried about our own city?
To me.
And the other question that I had was the signs that you have on the amendment say, Gloucester Police Firing Range, keep out, no trespassing beyond this point. I assume those signs are permanent, as you said. That means that people are going to come up there, they're going to see the sign and walk away because they don't think they can go in there. It doesn't say anything about active hours, active shooting, active this, active that. It just says keep out because this is a firing range. I'm assuming people can go up there other times. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. These questions, mostly that have been asked, are questions that don't have anything to do with the amendments to the ordinance. The signage is something that is the new ordinance, so that does count for a real question. The transportation and the fees for the Fort Devens and traveling, that has been asked and answered through Ed Conley on numerous events. Is there any new questions that actually have to do with the amendments to the ordinance tonight? Councilor Cox.
The gentleman that just spoke, both his questions were somewhat related to the amendments, one being the signage. I also would appreciate if we're going to put permanent signage up, that it's more detailed. I spoke with Chief Conley about that months ago, as far as, if we're going to have permanent signage, that it should cover more than just the keep out that was suggested in the original ordinance. But for the days of their shooting, that what was in the ordinance is accurate, that should be posted.
Excellent. I think that the signage will be better in the next month or so for what's coming up. We do have Ed still on the line if you'd like to answer that question.
Thank you, Council. I think Peter brings up a good point. I should have mentioned earlier that there's two different levels of no trespassing, right? There's the range itself, the encapsulation of the actual firing range, which is city property. It's the same as walking into the DPW yard or not. So my guess would be that no trespassing, a more permanent signage would be closer to the actual small footprint of the firing range. That's city property, and the DPW at taxpayer expense is going to be maintaining. So we have an interest in making sure that kids aren't going in there, messing up the berms or getting involved in any of that. So my guess would be that's where the permanent signage would be. In terms of on the relatively rare event that we're down here shooting throughout the year, we would have mobile signage. I've been in contact as early as today with Mike Hale, the DPW director, around what that signage may look like. And to Peter's point, we'd be very clear that there'll be different signage that would be permanent in terms that it's not paper, but it will be metal and attached to barriers that would be placed strategically around the range, as we have already done. That would indicate that we are actually live firing training at that time. And in addition, just to clarify one thing that I feel like is going to come up, I think it's important to sort of visualize what it looks like when we're on the range. So you have, say, 6, 7, 8, 10 officers in a single line. Behind that line, not shooting, very well identified are 6 to 7 firearms instructors, 2 of which do nothing but also watch the surrounding area for hikers, which if anything was to happen, it's easy enough to call a ceasefire and we allow people to move through. So it's the signage is important, but in addition to the signage, we also have active range safety officers every time we're down there firing. Thank you.
Councilor Cox.
In addition to Peter's other question, as far as other people using the range, I believe Chief Conley has clarified that the other people would be the instructors. We're not talking about bringing a handful of Manchester police officers to train with the Gloucester police officers. It is strictly for the Gloucester police training, but other instructors, other people is more of the other instructors. So, but Ed, if you want to.
Thank you, Counselor. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, absolutely correct. That language is in there, not because it's something that happens often, but when I'm thinking about not wanting, I'm sure we all want to revisit this every year for every possibility, but there are times in my experience over 30 years of being a police officer that outside experts are sometimes brought in to provide a higher level of training to X number of officers, particularly our instructors, which are all in-house. So I can envision, say, for example, the ATF sending over a couple of highly qualified instructors to help elevate our training here in Gloucester. So that language is really meant to cover that possibility. Again, there's no plans for that. It certainly doesn't refer to allowing outside agencies just to use the range for the sake of allowing them to use the range. This is all in support of the Gloucester Police Department training program.
Thank you, Ed. Council
I
Holgram,
see.
anybody else?
Yes, Debbie Holland has her hand raised.
Deb, can you hear me? Give your name and address for the record, please.
Debbie Holland, 11 Jebbica Lane. And by the way, it's 2 miles away, Sean. Since you all were talking about the dates of when the firing range would be open, I was wondering if there was any consideration to making it open November to May rather than May to November. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. And we'll certainly bring that question forward. Anybody else, Council Holgram?
Somebody's hand just went up and then went down. Oh, yep, Ellen Lehman. Okay. Thanks, Ellen.
How you doing, Ellen, tonight? You can give your name and address for the record.
Sure. Ellen Lehman, 16 Great Hill Road, Gloucester, Mass. You spoke about the cleanup of the area every 2 years, looking at the bullets. And I know that you're supposed to be using non-lead bullets if you have them, right? Is there any way to change to be only non-lead bullets can be used? The other question I have is, has there been soil tests on the area from the last many years that it was used? Because lead would show up in there, and any effect on the water supply would cost so much more, like I've said, in lawsuits than the $50,000 that would be saved, you know, by the city otherwise. So again, are you working on looking at whole soil tests in that area?
Ellen, thank you for the question. It's definitely a big part of the ordinance that's been brought forward by Melissa and Council O'Hara. The DPW is working with outside contractors on testing and figuring out a plan that we have to implement with this ordinance to the change of the ordinance. It's important to us. It's important to the Department of Public Works. It's a work in progress. It's not a simple solution to find out which company can come in and handle it of a vendor list. Mike Hale is working on that, and that is one of the reasons why we're also still in a circle pattern on this change in the ordinance to the testing. So it's a very important question. It doesn't go unnoticed. As far as the lead and the use with the ammunition, Chief Conley has talked about that at length. Frangible rounds are much more preferred. Fire ammunition is it's harder to get than clean water right now. It's a tough situation. It's tough to say that you won't use lead, but it's what we're looking into right now with part of the ordinance that Melissa and Jamie brought forward on a plan for the environmental study and the impact of lead and how to test for it. So thank you for your question.
Thank you for your answer.
Councilor Holgram.
46 attendees. I don't see any other hands up right now.
All right, so we're gonna close the question part of the segment. We've had a lot of information from a lot of counselors, some input from very influential people in the neighborhood that we need to look into. I do not believe that this is ready for prime time. I think this is going to have to come back to Ordinance and Administration for questions that need to be answered. I appreciate everybody's time and their comments, but I would like to continue this out to a later date, not necessarily a special meeting. Time constraints still not going to allow it. I don't know if we can have the information that we're looking for in the Article 97 or on the environmental impact before a special meeting on the, was it the 8th, I believe. This may have to be continued out a little bit further than that, Joanne.
Councillor Nolan, I just want to thank Councillors Cox and O'Hara for bringing this forward. And it has been challenging, you're right. But I do appreciate their strenuous efforts to try to make a compromise, and thanks to everyone who called in.
I agree. I think that it was good for them to step in and look into it a little bit deeper, and I appreciate them. I really do. And this is definitely something that it's a work in progress, and we're going to get it right. It's difficult, but we'll figure this out. Councillor Cox.
I would appreciate it if we actually set a date for this so we could have a deadline for response to the answers.
That's what
I think it was a while back that we had decided that we would not continue items without a date forward.
And that's what I asked Joanne to look into. I don't think the 8th will be enough time.
So the next meeting is March 15th, and the following meeting after that would be April 5th. And then after, you would probably need a special meeting if you want another meeting in April, because April 19th is a holiday.
Do we still have Chip Payson on the line?
Yes.
Chip, would the 15th be enough time to figure out the information on the Article 97 with a title search or an idea of what's going on?
It should be, yeah.
Okay.
I would thought they'd be the last two, not the first.
Can we mute some people? So I'd like to move this until the March 15th meeting. And hopefully we have the answers at least on the Article 97. I know the rest of us will be involved in more emails and listening to people and figuring out what we have to do to set a date for the council hearing. You're muted, Joanne.
Okay, that's fine. We'll put it on the March 15th O&A meeting.
All right, so we'll move this to March 15th for O&A. Do I need a vote for this or just a continuation?
I think you can continue it because you didn't actually finish moving all the motions, like with the main amendments and the main motion, so you can just continue it out.
All right, so I'm going to continue.
Other direction of the committee.
I'm going to move this to March 15th without any issues from the committee. O'Hara or Holgram, do you have?
No objection.
No objection.
Excellent. So I'm closing this matter until March 15th, and we're going to move on to the next order of business on our agenda. Excuse me for 1 second. Let's go back to number 1 from 5. And I want to thank everybody for their time tonight too. So next we have up a memorandum from the police chief requesting approval to submit a home rule petition regarding authority to convey special police authority upon qualified retired Gloucester police officers. Ed, it is your turn. Welcome to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks again for having me tonight. So this home rule petition that I put forward has been done in several other communities. And what it allows us to do is really, when officers moving forward, not necessarily the ones that are out there now, there's training reasons around this requirements, but officers who move forward toward into retirement, we don't lose all that training and investment we've made over the years when they decide to come and work paid details and in their retired status, which, by the way, is something that already happens and has been happening here for a long time. Unfortunately, the detail officers we have now, the retired detail officers we have now, they don't possess police powers. They have the same authority really as someone who crosses kids, say, for example. They don't have the power to cite motor vehicles, to make arrests. And so that's probably the most pragmatic use of this. But one other use of this ordinance that has become clear in the last year is the fact that if something were to happen in the future, similar to COVID, and we were, of course, very fortunate here in Gloucester, and particularly with the Gloucester Police Department, that we didn't have a much larger outbreak, that our staffing wasn't really affected by becoming sick. But if that had not been our experience, and the experience had actually been worse, and we were down 30–40%, the governor provided in his emergency order a mechanism for us to bring back retired officers. And had we needed to use that prior to this home rule petition being moved into place, should be voted on and forwarded, we would be at a loss, because the retired officers we bring back don't possess police powers. And it's been too long since the last time they had training for us to get them back up to speed without sending them to a full-time academy. And as much as the image of sending 6 or 7 retired officers to a full-time academy is something that makes me smile, it just wouldn't be able to do it. So that's really the two main reasons for this, for our request for this home rule petition to move forward. Thank you.
Excellent. Do we have any counselor questions on the committee towards this?
No questions. Thank you, Chief.
Not a problem. We still have Counselor Cox on the line. Do you have any questions, Melissa?
They should get
All
more
right.
information.
Excellent. We do have a motion.
Ordinance Administration voted to recommend that the city council request that the state legislature file a home rule petition. Based on said petition, the general court enact a special act substantially as follows. Section 1, the mayor of the city of Gloucester, as the appointing authority, may appoint, as the mayor deems necessary, retired police officers as special police officers to perform police details or any duties arising therefrom or during the course of police detail work, whether or not related to detail work. The mayor shall have sole discretion to appoint retired Gloucester police officers as special police officers. The police chief of the city of Gloucester shall establish all Gloucester Police Department rules, procedures, and policies concerning such appointments. The mayor shall appoint retired Gloucester police officers who serve as regular Gloucester police officers and are retired based on superannuation. No retired police officers shall be appointed under this act as a special police officer if that officer has been retired for more than 4.5 years. The special police officer shall not be subject to the same maximum age restrictions as applied to regular Gloucester police officers under Chapter 32 of the general laws, but shall not be eligible to serve as special police officers if they have reached the age of 70. Prior to appointment under this act, a retired Gloucester police officer shall pass a medical examination by a physician or other certified professional chosen or agreed to by the department to determine whether the retired Gloucester police officer is capable of performing the essential duties of a special police officer. Under this act, the cost of which shall be borne by the retired Gloucester police officer. Section 2, special police officers' appointments under this act shall not be subject to Chapter 31 of the general laws, Section 99A of Chapter 41 of the general laws, Chapter 150E of the general laws, or Chapter 151A of the general laws. Section 3, Special police officers shall, when performing the duties under section 1, have the same power to make arrests and perform other police functions as do regular police officers of the city of Gloucester. Section 4, special police officers shall be appointed for a 1-year term, subject to renewal of the mayor's discretion. Notwithstanding, special police officers shall be subject to suspension or removal by the police chief with the approval of the mayor at any time. All benefits afforded to the special police officers appointed under this act shall terminate upon the conclusion of the employment term. The special police officer's appointment shall automatically terminate upon their 70th birthday, upon the officer's 70th birthday. Section 5, special police officers appointed under this act shall be subject to the rules and regulation, policies and procedures and requirements as the police chief of the Gloucester Police of the city of Gloucester may impose from time to time, including but not limited to pay rates for special police officers, restrictions on the type of details, assignments, requirements regarding the medical examinations to determine continual capabilities to perform the duties of a special police officer, requirements for training, requirements for firearms licensing and qualifications, requirements for maintaining of a medical or liability insurance policy, and requirements regarding uniforms and equipment. The police chief shall, at his discretion, set a schedule of fees associated with the cost of training, medical examinations, equipment, uniforms, and any other of fees associated with the cost of training, medical examinations, equipment, uniforms, and any other requirements deemed necessary by the police chief that shall be paid by the special police officers appointed under this act. Special police officers appointed under this act shall not be subject to section 96B of chapter 41 of the general laws. Section 6, special police officers appointed under this act shall be sworn in at the discretion of the mayor and by the city clerk of the city of Gloucester. Section 7, special police officers appointed under this act shall be subject to section 111F of chapter 41 of the general laws. The amount payable under section 111F of chapter 41 shall be calculated by averaging the amount earned over the prior 52 weeks as a special police officer working special details, or averaged over such lesser period of time for any officer designated as a special police officer less than 52 weeks before the incapacity, the limitations or earnings continued in paragraph B of section 91 of chapter 32 of the general laws. Payments under section 111F of chapter 41 shall terminate in accordance with section 111F or at the conclusion of the employment term whichever occurs sooner. Special police officers appointed under this act shall not be subject to section 85H, 85H and a half of chapter 32, nor eligible for any benefits pursuant thereto. Section 8, appointment as a special police officer does not entitle the person to assignment to any detail. Section 9, retired Gloucester police officers serving as special police officers under this act shall be subject to the limitation on hours worked and on earnings restrictions as provided in paragraph B of section 91 of chapter 32 of the general laws. Section 10, this act shall take effect upon its passage, and I so move.
Woo, second. All right.
All righty, it has been moved and seconded. Good job, Jamie. Long talk. That's how it goes sometimes, but I appreciate you reading it. So we'll do this by a roll call vote, and we'll start with Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Holgram.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. Ed, thank you for all the info. I think it's pretty clear of what this is and what it does, and more importantly, what it doesn't do. It doesn't affect anything to do with retirement or any of that type of stuff. It's just simply, to me, honestly, I take it upon it's beneficial to have our retired officers on a road detail, being able to follow through with laws and cite things they may see happen and bear witness to it and do their job accordingly as they would have if they were still under full-time positions. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely correct. And thank you, Council O'Hara. That was quite a read. I appreciate it and appreciate everybody's support.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed. It's been a long night. You're welcome to stick around. I tried to get things through for you as fast as possible. I know you work a lot of hours, and I actually got to see that your wife was attending as well. So that's always nice for the moral support.
Just wants to know when to put dinner in the microwave, and she knows.
Excellent. All right. So we're still going to take things out of a little bit of order. I do want to go to number 4. Council Holgram was Special City Council number 2021-001 to amend GCO Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 8, Human Rights Commission, Section 2-497, establish terms, compensation, subsection A. So Jen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Counselor. This is fairly straightforward. Per requests from members of the Human Rights Commission and members of the community, I discussed with City Administration expanding membership of the Human Rights Commission to 9 full members and 1 alternate. And this is because despite the mayor's office doing as much outreach as possible, despite my own outreach to try to help people, to help recruit people for the commission, it needs more diversity. So there are some people waiting in the wings, people of color, hopefully people in the LGBTQIA community who come and apply to be on this commission because representation matters. And rather than asking some people to step down or become alternate members, we feel pretty strongly that the committee can only become stronger with more people. So that is why I have put this order forward, and I want to thank the legal department for helping me to write it.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor Holgram. Is there any other questions from Councilor O'Hara?
Nope, I'm good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is something that makes sense. It's hard to put 7 people on a committee to recognize the diversity of the town. It's also sad that, we can't have a committee where people of LGBTQ or of color that don't want to step up and be recognized. We need to make them all feel comfortable. This is why this committee is so important to me. So whatever the Human Rights Commission is looking to do, I support strongly. And a lot of times you try to keep the board small because discussion can get, offset and off targeted from a special topic. There are so many topics involved in the Human Rights Commission that the more the merrier. And there could be a situation in some part of the community that other people don't ever even think about that may be important to a group, and to bring it forward, the more the merrier. So not all committees need to be bigger. This one will certainly be brighter by having more people in their input. Councilor Holgram, would you like to read the motion?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you both. I'm sorry, let me just scroll to it. Oh gosh.
I can read it if you like.
That would be great. Okay. Thank you, Councilor O'Hara. Thank you, Councilor Nolan.
Ordinance Administration voted to recommend that the City Council amend Gloucester Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Councils, and Committees, Division 8, Human Rights Commission, Section 2-497, establish terms, compensation, subsection A as follows. A, there shall be in the city a commission known as the Gloucester Human Rights Commission, hereinafter called the Commission, which shall consist of 9 members appointed by the mayor and approved by the City Council to serve without compensation. The commission may have, in addition to one alternate member appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council, and one ex officio member selected by the majority vote of the commissioners, and I so move.
Second. Thank you both very, very much.
Not a
Thank you,
problem.
Mayor Bacon.
This was an easy one. And I can see in Chris Sakaran's picture, he's smiling like he always is, and I'm sure he's smiling over this. So we'll go by roll call. And comes up, Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Holgram.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, absolutely. Absolutely. This is great. And thank you, Jen, for your work on this.
Thank you.
Next up, we have something that we've been working on for a while. And I don't know if we're ready to come forward, but I'd like to do a little discussion on number 3, which is the parking, to raise the fee for beach parking to $150 or up to $150. We've also bounced around the idea of asking at the same time for resident only infractions to be up to 150. The actual ordinance we have in front of us doesn't involve anything to do with a home rule petition for the resident only. However, I think in time constraints from the requests from the administration and certain neighbors about making the beach fines a little bit stiffer, maybe it's time for us to put through to full council at least asking for a home rule petition to allow the beach parking infractions to be raised up to 150 from 75. It doesn't mean that the parking infractions will be 150. It can be changed as we decide. We can bring forward back this more to in a committee level instead of moving forward on it tonight. We do have a bunch of stuff that we're working on with other towns and cities and the police chief in Gloucester of correcting and updating our ticket procedures in Gloucester to find a fair base of what other towns are doing. It doesn't necessarily include what we're doing today. I think that with what happened last spring, people are really up in arms about the beach parking and resident only parking. So in all fairness, personally, I'd like to bring this back for us to really come up a little bit more, or I'm all right with also putting through, at least at this point with summer coming up, because it could take a year before the state moves in a home rule petition, to allow us the authority to charge up to $150 for a beach parking infraction. So it can go either way. If you guys think that we should read it and send it to council to vet out for a home rule petition as written, we can do that as well tonight, or we can simply also bring this back for more information and try to include some more. Councilor O'Hara.
Yeah, I'd like to bring it back and let's review it a little further, please.
Not a problem at all. Joanne?
Yes.
Can we bring number 3 back to the 15th as well?
Sure. Yep.
Excellent.
I agree.
So we will be bringing CC 2020-14 back to March 15th. We do have one more thing on our agenda, and it's a matter to be continued. The Zoning Board of Appeals of James Gigalotti, alternate member, 90-day appointment, is going to be continued. So that was one thing I wanted to add to the conversation, and it'll be continued until a 90-day appointment is up. So that is where we're at on that one.
It's going to be continued till May 3rd.
May 3rd. Excellent.
Yes, the May 3rd O&A.
All right, perfect. So I believe we're done for the night. I want to thank everybody for their patience.
Counselor, it looks like somebody's hand is raised.
I believe it's Counselor Gilman.
Council
Oh,
Gilman.
okay.
I didn't see that, Council Gilman.
Is she on?
I still don't see it.
Listen.
Called in.
She needs to unmute herself. Okay. She's allowed to talk, but I don't, she's gonna mute. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you taking my call. So the one thing that I just wanted to suggest before it comes back to O&A, this is on the parking fines, is if we can circulate the data that's been collected so far, just to get a better feel for what best practices have been, particularly through the pandemic, of other oceanfront communities like us. So if that could be included, I think we will be more in a position to have a rigorous conversation about the home rule petition alternative. So that's all I wanted to say. It's been a interesting meeting, and thank you for hearing my suggestion.
Council Gilman, you still on the line?
I am.
So I did try to share that today. Just so you know, Councilor McCarthy, Val and I and Ed have been working on gathering data. Val has gathered data from most C-type towns that equal us around the South Shore and up through Maine. She's done a great job with bringing what people are charging is towns that don't really the same as us, but Amesbury, Ed Conley has gotten copies of most of the ticket books across the northeast, say northern Essex County. And I did try to share that today. So if you looked at it's been a busy day with emails. I'll try to find out what wrong. But also, Val, if you have that ready with your charts, I mean, you could feel free to send that out with us. You were instrumental in this. So it's
Oh, great. I'd be happy to do that.
yeah, if you could, that'd be great. It is a lot of information. It's not just about the beach parking. It's about other infractions that we have on our ticket books that just, they're antiquated, not updated. And we need to make sure that we meet code and match our tickets to our actual ordinances. So there's a cleanup duty
Terrific.
involved, as much as also the beach fees for the parking and that. Val, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Good meeting, everyone.
All right. So again, thank you all. Long night. Jen, really thank you for stepping in and covering.
Thank you very much, both of you, all of you.
And everybody that participated tonight. We learned a lot. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Oh, roll call.
Roll call.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Holgram.
Aye.
Councilor Nolan. Yes. And thank you all again and have a great night.